Hi everyone, today we're going to be reviewing the formative. For number 1, you needed to find the reciprocal. And remember, reciprocal is just flipping the numerator and the denominator. For number 1, you should have flipped the numerator and the denominator. To show your work, put an R and then you would put 6 over 7. So my answer would be 6/7. For number 2, the problem is to find the reciprocal of 1/8. To find the reciprocal of 1/8, I would put the 8 in the numerator and a 1 in the denominator. So it would be 8 over 1. For number 3, we need to find the reciprocal of 5 and 6/11. So the first thing you have to do is make it into an improper fraction. So to make it into an improper fraction, multiply your denominator times your whole number to see how many 11ths I have in 5 wholes. So 5 times 11 is 55. And then I'm going to add this 6 here. So 55 plus 6 is 61. So I put 61 in my numerator. My denominator is going to stay the same. I'm still talking 11ths. So I have 61 11ths. Now that I found my improper fraction, I need to now find the reciprocal. To find the reciprocal, remember I need to flip my numerator and denominator. Please do not put these equal because they are not equal at all. So I'm going to go ahead and flip it. So now my 11 is on the top, or my numerator, and then I have 61 as my denominator. And that would be the reciprocal of 5 and 6/11. For problems 4 through 7, we need to solve and check each problem and then give all answers in simplest form. So for number 4 is 5/3 divided by 10/7. So the first thing that we have to do is make sure they're all fractions. They are all fractions. So the next thing we have to do is multiply by the reciprocal. So the division sign is going to become a multiplication, and it's the reciprocal of just the second one. So I'm going to show the reciprocal of 10/7, which is 7/10. And my 5/3 stays the same. So I can either multiply across or simplify first and by cross canceling. So I'm going to go ahead and cross cancel by dividing by 5 on the top and on the bottom. So I get 5 divided by 5 is 1, and 10 divided by 5 is 2. Now I'm going to go ahead and multiply across. So I get 1 times 7 and 3 times 2, and that's 7/6. This is a good answer, but a better answer would be making it into a mixed number, which would be 1 and 1/6. So now I'm going to check. So I'm going to take that 1 and 1/6, my answer, and I'm going to multiply it by 10 over 7. I need to first change it into an improper fraction. So I have 6 times 1 is 6, plus 1 more is 7. So I have 7/6 times 10/7. Now I'm going to cross cancel because I can divide by 7, which gives me 1. And I can divide by 2, which gives me 3. And divide by 2, which gives me 5. So I have 5/3, and that's a check because that's what I started with, is 5/3 here. Okay, so my final answer is 1 and 1/6. Okay, for number 5, we have 12 divided by 8/3. The first step that we have to do is make it all fractions. So my 12 is not a fraction, it's a whole number, so I need to make it a fraction. So I need to put 12 over 1 and then divide it by 8/3. So now I have all fractions. My second step is to multiply by the reciprocal. So the division sign is going to change into a multiplication sign, and my second fraction is going to flip, or the reciprocal of it, which would be 3/8. My 12 over 1 stays the same. Now I can simplify. So I can see that I can cross cancel, so I can divide this by 4, the 12 by 4, and the 8 by 4. So 12 divided by 4 is 3, and 8 divided by 4 is 2. Now I need to multiply across, so I have 3 times 3, which is 9, and then I have 2, which is 9/2. So this is a good answer, but we could do a better answer, which would be so we need to find the mixed number. So how many times can 2 go into 9? That is 4 times, because 4 times 2 is 8. So that means I have 1 left over. So I have 4.5 is my final answer. So now I'm going to check it by doing 4.5 times 8/3, and that should give me 12. So go ahead and change this to a mixed number. So that's 9/2 times 8/3. So I can simplify again or cross cancel by dividing by 3. So I get 3 here, divide by 3. And I can cross cancel here by dividing by 2 and 2. So I get 4 and 1. So this would give me a 1 here. So I have 12 on the top and a 1 on the bottom, which equals 12. And that's correct. Which means my final answer is 4.5. Here's number 6. So the first step that we have to do is all fractions. To get all fractions, remember you need to make it into an improper fraction for each one. So you would get 31/5 divided by 12/5. Second step is to multiply by the reciprocal. So I'm going to change my division sign to a multiplication sign. And I'm going to find the reciprocal of 12/5, which is 5/12. And then the 31/5 stays the same. My third step is to simplify or reduce by cross-canceling, or you can multiply across first and then reduce. So I see that I have a 5 on the top and the bottom, so I'm going to divide by 5. On the top and bottom, I get 1. And then I have 31 and 12, and nothing can go into 31, so I'm just going to multiply across, so I get 31/12. Now I need to make this a mixed number, so I know that 12 can go into 31 2 times. 2 times 12 is 24, and then I would have, to get to 31, that would be 7 left over, so I have 7/12. This would be my answer, but let's go ahead and check it. To check, I take my 2 and 7/12, and I'm going to multiply it by the 2 and 2/5, and that should give me equal to 6 and 1/5. So this is 24. 24 plus 7 is 31/12 times, and then I have 2 times 5 is 10, plus 2 more is 12, so I have 12/5. So I can cancel out my 12s by dividing by 12 on the top and 12 on the bottom. And then I get 31/5, which equals 6 and 1/5, which checks out. So that means my final answer is 2 and 7/12. Here's number 7. First, we're going to make them all fractions. So the 7 and 1/4 would become 7 times 4 is 28, and then I'm going to add the 1, so that gives me 29/4. And then divided by, and it would just be 9/1 to make that a fraction. The second step is to multiply by the reciprocal. So I'm going to change the division sign to multiplication, find the reciprocal of the 9/1, which would be 1/9, and the 29/4 stays the same. So let's find the third step, which is to simplify and by cross-canceling or multiplying by straight across. So I see I have a 29 and a 9. Nothing can cross-cancel there. And I have a 4 and a 1, so nothing can cross-cancel there. So I can't cross-cancel, so now I'm going to multiply straight across. So I have 29. And then 4 times 9 is 36. Now this is a fraction, and I can't simplify or do anything, so this would be my final answer. So now I'd need to check. So remember, I would check by doing 29/36 and multiply that times 9, and you should get that equal to 7 1/4. So let's go ahead and multiply that 29 and 36 by 9 over 1. Going to simplify this because I can divide this by 9 and this by 9. So that would give me 4. That's 1. So then I get 29 fourths. And does 29 fourths equal 7 1/4? Yes, it does. So it checks out. So my final answer is 29/36. Okay, let's see how well you did. Now let's look at starting with the 8 and 7. So these are unfamiliar problems. So far in this formative, we have not given you unfamiliar problems. So you can't give yourself a 7 or an 8. So there are challenging problems. Your challenging problems would be number 3 and number 6. The complex problems would be number 2 and number 7. The simple problems would be 1, 4, and 5. So how did you do? If you got all the simple problems, then you would be at a 2, okay? If you got more right, the 2 and 7, then so the more you got right, the better you can get. But right now, we didn't give you any unfamiliar, so your highest would be that you could get on these problems is a 6. Number 8, 9, and 10 is criterion D. So criterion D is applying in real life context. So let's go ahead and read this. This says, Joan has 6.5 tons of pebbles. How many piles can she make if she wants 3/4 tons of pebbles in each pile? So we have to divide 6.5 divided by 3/4. Okay, so we're seeing, can you get this expression correct? Okay, the first step is to make all fractions. So I'm going to multiply and then add. So 6 times 2 is 12. Plus 1 more is 13. So I have 13 halves divided by 3/4. The next step is to multiply by the reciprocal. So I'm going to change my division into multiplication and find my reciprocal, which is 4/3. Next, I'm going to cross cancel, which I can. So I'm going to divide by 2 on the top and the bottom. So I get 1 here and I get 2. Next, I multiply across. So 13 times 2 is 26. And I have 26 thirds. Okay, so now I need to make it into a mixed number. So to do that, how many times does 3 go into 26? That's 8 times, because 8 times 3 is 24. So then I have 2 left over, and then 3. So I have 8 2/3 of a pile. So Joan has 8 2/3 of a pile, or you could say that she has 8 complete piles and then part of a pile left over, or 2/3 of a pile left over. Let's go on to number 9. So Ziv ordered 10 pizzas for his party. Each slice is 1/12 of the pizza. How many slices does he have? And then we have to explain. So if he has 10 pieces and they're dividing it into 1/12 pieces, we need to figure out how many total pieces that is. So I'm going to go ahead and make it all fractions. Now I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal. Now I'm going to go ahead and multiply straight across. So I have 10 times 12, which is 120 over 1, which is 120 slices. Okay, so it says how many slices does he have? So now we need to explain. So I need to say that Ziv has 120 slices of pizza. So Ziv has 120 slices of pizza if each piece is divided into 1/12 slices. All right, let's go on to number 10. Okay, number 10 says Colleen has 4.5 hours to read 5 chapters of her biology textbook. Use fractions to calculate how many minutes she should spend on each chapter. Now the important thing here is that it's asking for how many minutes, and this is in hours, so we need to make sure that we get our units the same. So we can either convert our hours to minutes now, or we can do it later. So I'm going to first write my expression. So I have 4.5 hours, right? And I have to divide it into 5 chapters. So I have to divide this by 5 chapters. So now I want to get them into all fractions. So I'd multiply and add. So I'd get 4 times 2 is 8, plus 1 more is 9. So I have 9 halves divided by 5 over 1. Now I need to multiply by the reciprocal. So I have 9 halves times 1 over 5. So let's go ahead and multiply across. So I get 9, and then I get 2 times 5, which is 10. So I get 9/10. So what does this mean? It means 9/10 of an hour that she should spend in one chapter. Okay. However, we want to know how many minutes. So I need to change 9/10 of an hour to minutes. So I have this 9/10 of an hour, and I need to change it to minutes. So how many minutes are there in an hour? That would be 60 minutes. So then I would multiply the 60 times that. And I'm going to go ahead and simplify. So divide this by 10. So I'd get 6. So then I would get 9 times 6, which is 54 minutes. And that seems about right. 54 minutes seems like 9/10 of an hour. So I could check it and I could say, okay, well, if each chapter was 54 minutes and I multiplied that by 5 chapters, I would get 20 and 25 and then 270 minutes. And is 270 minutes equal to 4.5 hours? Yeah, it is, because the 4 here is 4 times 60, which is 240, plus the 30 minutes for the half an hour. That would give me 270 minutes. So that means that Colleen should read each one chapter for 54 minutes, or in 54 minutes. So I put that Colleen should spend 54 minutes on each chapter. The other thing that you're going to have to do is basically tell us, does it make sense, right? Does 54 minutes make sense? Yes, it does, because I did get 9/10 of an hour, and that's almost an hour, right? And 54 minutes is almost an hour. So you can say something to the fact that, yes, it makes sense. And when I checked my work and multiplied 54 times 5, I got 270 minutes, which is equal to 4.5 hours. All right, those last 3 problems, 8, 9, and 10, were on criterion D. So this for strand 1, we're testing you on, can you identify relevant elements of the authentic real life situation? And then this is for strand 2, is select mathematical strategies that model the real life situations. And then strand 3, apply the selected mathematical strategies to reach a correct solution. And then the last one is strand 5 that we'll be assessing you on. And are you able to describe correctly whether the solution makes sense in the context of the authentic real life situation? This is the end of our formative review. So good luck on your summative coming up this week.